Welcome to the Clear to Close podcast with your host, local mortgage expert Ryan Bolton. Ryan has the questions and answers, tips and tricks, do's and don'ts, and expert guests to explain all the steps needed to buy or sell real estate. And now it's time for the Clear to Close podcast.
Hey everyone, Ryan Bolton here. I am a mortgage nerd. Welcome to the Clear to Close podcast, where we talk about anything real estate, mortgage, to help you get clear to close on buying your next home. And today I thought it'd be kind of fun. I got my producer here. We call him Freddie Max, trying to keep him on his toes a little bit with some ideas that I have on making a podcast and making it kind of fun. So we're going to do some reaction videos. So we found some shorts. We found some cool little videos, little clips, and we're just going to react to them. I think it'll be fun. It kind of stretched what he can do with his software system here. So we're just going to have a little bit of fun. We're on Facebook Live on my Facebook and YouTube, all that fun stuff. And if you like the show, please like, subscribe, comment below. If you have a topic, if you'd like to be a guest, this has all just been a lot of fun producing the show and having a little bit of fun with it. So let's get to our first clip and let's just see how this loads and how this plays.
Now instead of $1,347, pay $1,600 a month.
We were playing with it. It looks like the video's already started. So let's back it up here. Here we go. He's figuring it out. We're live.
So here's a trick to pay off your mortgage 7 years faster. Now I know you won't believe it, so let me show it to you. Come on down here. So if you purchase a house that is $300,000, the principal and interest per month on it is $1,347. Now instead of $1,347, pay $1,600 a month. That is $252,000 more.
Oh, pause it right there.
Just paying this much amount actually saves you.
Did he say 252,000? I think he said 252,000.
No, he said pay 252 more. $252.
Oh, I thought he said 252,000.
So he's saying pay instead of the $1,350, pay the $1,600.
Oh, yeah. I thought he said that's 252,000 extra. I thought he said 1,000. And anyway, so what a concept, guys. I can't believe it. I mean, if I didn't see it written down on a piece of paper, the paying extra pays off your loan faster. What? I don't believe him.
Well,
I don't believe it.
I think he's more implying not just paying it off, but you're saving interest money.
Sure.
Is that where he's going with?
I guess, but it's something where I think the math is wrong. 252 extra, and it's like, okay, just pay extra, and the house pays off faster, which then saves you interest. Yes. So a couple of the things that are out there to help you pay off your house faster is paying extra. One of the most common is called biweekly, where instead of making your payment at the first of the month, you make it every 2 weeks. So by the end of the year, you've actually paid one extra full payment to principal and interest. Now, keep in mind, when you make an extra payment, once you cover the interest of the loan, the rest goes to principal, so it doesn't go to like extending your next payment. So if you pay extra and say, well, now I'm kind of getting ahead, so I'll miss a payment down the road. No, it is all going to principal. Now, there's some lenders you have to instruct that's what you're doing, because if you don't send enough to even cover the interest, they don't credit it to your account. They just sit there and say, well, there's not enough here to cover the escrow, the interest, anything on here until the second payment shows up. So if you are going to do a biweekly, you want to contact your lender to make sure it's set up correctly, and you want to start it early. So your first payment isn't, say, June 1st. Your first payment is May 15th or 2 weeks before that. But what will end up happening is those half payments, you end up making 3 in 1 month, twice during the year. But I find it's almost easier just to round up the payment, pay an extra $100, or what he's saying is $252 extra, to round up the extra to pay it off faster. But here's something I even tell most of my clients, is you're better off taking that money and put it into savings, pay off other debts, because that extra $100, that extra $200 on a mortgage will save some money off that interest rate, absolutely. But $100 or $200 on a car or a Visa or something else will pay it off even faster, so you can free up that minimum payment on that credit card or the car and then put that on the mortgage. So I'm believing the debt. There's Avalanche out there, Avalanche or debt snowball is what it's called. I think those are better practices than paying extra to the mortgage. Have the other debts gone first, because $100 goes a lot further on a $10,000 loan than a $300,000 loan. But I think what the video is trying to say is that by paying the extra, you'll pay the loan off faster, which means you'll save a whole bunch of interest. But I'm amazed how many people don't go 30 years on these mortgages anyway. They'll end up selling, refinancing. They'll do other things within 10 years, let alone the entire 30-year window. So I think there's better places to put the money, even 401, mutual fund, get it out of your day-to-day stuff. And there's some discipline, obviously, with these systems. But I think putting it towards the mortgage is definitely smart, but I think there's smarter places to put the money. I really do. Let's see what we got for another clip. $252,000.
Buy, put the down payment that you plan to make. In our case, we're going to use 20%. Select the
Oh,
Yeah, we had the problem of actually looking at a bunch of these. So let me go to one that we haven't watched yet.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
Let's start from scratch here. What's this one? It says 500,000. There we go.
Let's see what this one says. All right.
Negative hold, Amplify 1943, hold.
It works when it goes in order, but if I go out of order, it screws it up. All righty, here we go.
All right, let's try it again. We're having fun
How
today.
much do you need to make to buy a property of $500,000 in Canada in today's crazy market? A few assumptions in this video, first of which is
Canada?
that you'll need to put 5% down payment or $25,000, and the other assumption is that you have no obligations or debts in the background. So if you want to buy a property for $500,000 with 5% down payment, you'll need a down payment of $25,000. When it comes to your income, you'll need a total household family income of no less than $103,000 per year. And your monthly mortgage payment on a 5-year adjustable variable rate is $2,077 monthly. Now you'll notice throughout this example that affordability hasn't changed yet. In the upcoming revision by the government of Canada, things are going to change. So this might be your last opportunity to get your foot in the house you wanted.
Okay.
How much?
So a couple points there. You are going to have to make a certain amount of income to debt service that particular loan. You're going to have the principal and interest on the loan, but you're also going to have taxes and insurance, possible HOA. You're going to have other expenditures that aren't just the principal and interest on the loan. And what they'll typically do is take your gross monthly income. So they'll take your yearly W-2 or your year-to-date pay stub, divide that gross amount by typically 45%. All of your bills, so any car loans, visas, student loans, whatever other bills that you have to fall under that number plus the new mortgage payment. So it's not just based on principal and interest. It's going to have other things that are going to factor into there. I don't think the numbers are that far off, but if you've got a $500 car payment, that $103,000 that you mentioned is going to go up to debt service that loan. Now, I've seen debt ratios allow up to 55%, but the kind of the target number, anything over 45 is either an exception or you have to have more money down, higher credit score, more money left over. So there's a lot. There's not just a silver bullet with a lot of these questions. They're going to be, and I've often told my clients that the answer is it depends. It depends on the interest rate, depends on your income, depends on what other debts you have, it depends on your credit score, depends on mortgage insurance. So that's why talking with a mortgage company will help you really narrow down what is your true payment and really what can you afford. But if you look at your overall debts and you look at 45% of your gross income, if they all fall under that with the new mortgage payment, at least debt ratio shouldn't be an issue why you don't get the loan. It still might be finding the house. It still might be down payment. It still might be credit scores. There's other factors that go into getting approved. But that is very true that you're going to have to qualify for a certain number. You're going to have the debt ratio to qualify. There's really 4 major things we're going to look at. Debt ratio is definitely one of the biggest one. Credit scores, down payment, and use of the home. These all factor into the rate you're going to get and the type of loan program you're going to get. So not necessarily wrong. It's interesting that's Canada. And we even have 100% financing. So we have programs that don't require the down, that you may be able, instead of putting the 5% down, get rid of the car payment or get rid of the other debts. So now all of a sudden you can afford the home you want. And now all you have is the house payment instead of the house, a car, a visa, other debts. That's part of my job, is to sit down and say, okay, what are we working with? Is it better to put the money down, or is it better to take that money, put less down, get rid of other debts? So then you can afford a home that's more in the price range you want or has the amenities, location, all of those things. So great video. All right, what else we got? Let's see if we can find another one. Freddie Max doing a great job
today. Isn't that crazy? So the first step to ditching your mortgage super fast is to make extra payments every quarter. So for example, let's say you owe $220,000 with a 4% interest rate. Now, I always recommend a 15-year fixed mortgage rate, but for this example, I'm going to use a 30-year because that's what majority of homeowners currently have. So according to Ramsey's Mortgage Payoff Calculator, making an extra house payment of $1,050 every quarter, 4 times a year, you would pay off your mortgage 11 years early and save you more than $65,000 just in interest. 11 years early, you guys. Isn't that crazy? So the first step
I think it's interesting that this is such a revelation. Paying extra pays off the house faster. Well, yeah, of course. Paying extra pays off the house faster. How you do it can differ, whether it's quarterly, monthly, extra, biweekly, that type of thing. But here's the thing I look at. You've got in this scenario, 4%. There are a lot of people have a 4% mortgage. Why are you paying extra to that when you still got a 12% interest rate over here? You got a car payment, you got these other payments over here. Or you can take that same amount of money and increase your 401, your contributions, your retirements, other things like that. I don't think the smartest thing in the world is to put an extra $1,000 on the mortgage. I would say, what about increasing your life insurance coverages? What about increasing your 401 contribution? What about getting rid of any other debt? Then say there's a $400 car payment. You take that car and you're able to pay it down quicker, take the $400 and then put that towards the mortgage. So you still have the same monthly amount going out every month, but now it's paying everything off faster. It's amazing how it's like, oh, just come up with $1,000 extra. Hey, everybody. With the cost of everything, all that, that doesn't seem like that's crazy feasible to save 7 years, 30 years worth down the road. That's such a long time to really see the gratification of getting things paid off. That's why I really believe in the snowball method, where you actually get some successes. You actually be able to say, hey, look, I got that card paid off. I got the car paid. You can see the victories a little sooner, which I think psychologically keeps you more motivated than something that's so far down the road. While you still have other debts, you never get any wins. And it's something where if another bill shows up or an expenditure or a vacation or something like that, it's a lot easier to say, yeah, I'm going to go do that. I'll just catch up on the mortgage stuff later because it's so far down the road. But if it's somewhere it's like, hey, I'm only 2 more payments and I can pay off the car, or I'm only 6 more payments. The car's gone, then all of a sudden that payment plus the extra you've been doing can now go down to the next debt. And all of a sudden that one gets paid off in 8 months or 12 months. And the next one gets paid off 2 months after that or whatever. You see what I mean? I think there's a psychological system at play here that helps you with your willpower. Because willpower is only going to go so far, but systems will work. So the more you can take that same amount of money, make it go further, have some victories along the way, I think it's far better off. And a lot of times having even the savings, having a little bit of emergency fund first, I think is crucial. Dave Ramsey talks about all the time. Have $1,000 pure savings in the bank for emergencies before you start tackling some of these debts. But I still think it's really important to pay other debts first to get those things paid off and then roll that debt down. Now, I've had some times where people say, well, do the highest rate first and go down because you will save more interest. Absolutely. If you got a higher interest rate, but if that higher interest rate's the higher balance, where maybe the rate that's a couple points lower, maybe a smaller balance, you're going to see more success faster, which will keep the whole thing going. I think too many times people do these debt servicing programs. They're 3 years before anything's paid off. I'm telling you, willpower doesn't last that long. It really won't. Where if you start getting some successes early, I think it's a way better plan to do it. So, all right, let's see what else we have for a great video. But hey, pay extra, pays off faster.
$128,000 more in interest, but you'll have $1.4 million in investments. Paying off your mortgage early would cost you $300,000 in total wealth. That's a lot of money. Sure, you've saved a bit on interest, but you lost money in the long run. That's why it's so important that you understand the way personal finance actually works. That way you can crunch the numbers and choose the path that makes the most financial sense for you. Paying off your mortgage early isn't always a great idea. Let me show you why. Yeah, let's say that you have a $300,000 mortgage at a 4% interest.
So I think this is exactly what we've been talking about. Yes, paying off the mortgage is a big thing, people trying to do it, but I've had so many people that struggle for 10 years, really sacrifice everything, vacations to get the mortgage paid off so they can retire, and then they have really nothing but a bunch of equity. Where if they would have spent the same amount of time maybe adding to 401s, getting rid of other debts so they only had a mortgage to debt service with pension, Social Security, retirement, whatever it is, they usually live a much more enjoyable retirement than enjoying a mortgage-free loan for 5 years before they pass away or 10 years before they pass away. So I think that just like with anything, it's important to look at all the numbers as more of a financial vehicle than just a debt, a mortgage, car loan. Some of these things really can be utilized in ways that stretch out your resources or help your resources, that really become something where good debt versus bad debt. I know there's things out there that say all debt is bad. Okay, maybe. Depends. It really does depend. I look at it and say everybody's trying to accelerate these 4% mortgages, but they have a 12% interest rate on something else, or a 10% or 15%, or they have to go to the bank to get a loan on anything else, where if they just had the savings built up, got rid of all the other debts, had some victories along the way, they're just going to be in a better situation towards retirement or any stage in life, but especially as they head toward retirement. And I think a lot of times people think, I've got to start paying $5,000 extra to pay off the loan before I retire. Where else can that money go that can diversify it more than the mortgage? I talk to people all the time that have these big, large down payments. They have $400,000 to pay cash for a house. Maybe it's rolled equity, maybe it's whatever it is, wherever the money's coming from. And I go, would you take all that money and put it in one stock? No. Everybody says, you got to diversify. Mutual funds, stocks, short-term, cap, all that stuff. Yes. But you're going to do the same thing with the mortgage? You're going to buy an entire house, an entire stock with just that money? Why not buy 2? Why not get rid of everything else? Why not use that to make the mortgage payment for the next 15 years? I mean, these are things you at least should look at. Now, obviously, I'm a loan guy. I'm going to be selling loans, so I look at it that way. But I've been able to leverage the money that's out there to be able to build investment portfolios, to have a little more security, to be able to ride out the highs and lows of life a little bit by just being able to properly leverage. Now, do you want to be leveraged to 100%? No, absolutely not. But do you want to be leveraged to zero where you have no leverage and all equity? And no, I think there's a balance. That's why they talk about diversification. So I think it's really important to have that balance. All right, let's see if we can find another funny video maybe. What else we got? Mr. Freddie Mac, he's
the house. But as home values started dropping, they're underwater on.
It's weird how it doesn't start from.
Yeah, when my mouse is just over it, it doesn't like to. How do I?
We're behind.
With the higher interest rates that we're seeing, adjustable rate mortgages are starting to become more popular again. They can be very attractive because the first few years you have a low interest rate and a low monthly payment compared to a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. But what you need to keep in mind is that interest rate is going to keep going up the longer you have that loan out, and your monthly payment is going to increase year over year. Now, this may not be that big of a deal if you know you only intend to live in that house for a few years and then sell it, or you speculate that interest rates may go down later on and that you can refinance into a lower fixed rate mortgage payment. But keep in mind that this type of loan was a major contributor to the 2008 housing crash. Many homeowners entered into this type of loan expecting to be able to refinance later on or just sell the house. But as home values started dropping and they're underwater on their mortgage, refinancing just wasn't an option. With the higher interest rates that we're seeing, adjustable rate mortgages are starting to become
So adjustable rate mortgages were very popular because people were moving and refinancing so quickly, and it gave them an introductory rate that was maybe more affordable while they were either getting moved or relocated. I mean, they were definitely oversold. There's many things that happened in 2008. Adjustable rate mortgages were definitely a part of it. I wouldn't say they were a huge part of it, but you're not seeing the market itself that much of a difference in interest rates to do an adjustable rate versus a 30-year fix. There's just different laws with it. There's different investors. They don't really want the 5-year, 7-year loan as much as just doing a 30-year fix. That's really kind of the way the market's been for quite a while. But it does give you an option. It is usually a little better interest rate if you know you're not going to keep the home, whether it's a short-term. Like I had people that have their kids go to school here at Utah Tech, and what they'll do is buy them basically a house they know they're only going to have while they're in school, and then they'll just sell it, use that for the next house. So I've seen that where they know they're going to be doing something, but you do run the risk that your payment could change after that introductory period. Most of them, I think, were 3-year, 5-year, and 7 years. I think the 5-year was probably the most common, where 5 years fixed, locked in, 60 payments, never going to change. Tax insurance might change, of course, but the mortgage payment itself won't change. Then after that, it has the ability to adjust. That's really what you want to look at, is how much can it adjust, when can it adjust, by what factors determine it. It's not like all of a sudden they say, okay, you're getting the rate today at 7%, it will be 9% in 5 years. They don't know what it's going to be, because they don't know what the market's going to be in that time. In fact, it could actually stay the same. There's a potential where if interest rates are lowering, the adjustable rate mortgage won't actually go up like everybody's scared of. So you want to know what are the factors that determine in 5 years how much that payment's going to adjust. Usually the first adjustment can go up as much as 2%. Then after that, every 6 months to a year, it can readjust again. So it has these features built in on how often, when, what are the caps, what are the floor, what's the ceiling. It'll have these ranges of where that interest rate can go, but it will have a floor and a ceiling where it has to stay within those two numbers. But it's not guaranteed to go up, not guaranteed to go down, but that's a risk you're taking by getting a better rate for the next 5 years if you know you plan on selling, refinancing, or doing something with the property. But the savings just really isn't there. I priced out so many 30-year fixed to an ARM, and people just go with the fixed. It's not like you're getting a point or 2 points or some crazy difference between an adjustable rate mortgage and a 30-year. So most people just opt for the 30-year. It's not very common to see the ARM anymore. All right, we got a few more minutes here. What do you think of the show, huh? Oh, now we don't have sound.
I thought I had it. I was all ready to go here. Okay,
I'm telling you, these reaction videos are fun. Oh, now we got sound.
Okay, I put the mouse here. I push this button.
Oh, man. Behind
when
the
it
scenes.
comes to credit and buying a home, it's very different than when you buy a car. For instance, when you buy a car and you get a cosigner, they typically use the higher credit score. Whereas in mortgages, if you're applying for a home, the bank will use the lower of your middle scores. When it comes to credit and buying a home.
Okay. So not wrong. I mean, we always go off the however many borrowers, husband, wife, uncle, nephew, whoever it is, just whoever's on there, we're going to take all 3 credit scores. We're going to use the middle credit score for each borrower, and then whoever's the lowest of those 3 middle scores, that's the quote-unquote credit score. So I have a lot of times where people look at co-signing, especially now with affordability is harder and you got brothers and sisters kind of teaming up to buy a house or roommates or something through college. It's definitely get more common for people to kind of team up to buy their first house. They will go off the lower of the credit scores of the middle of the 3 scores. So there's the 3, they'll take the middle, the lower of the 2. So that's not necessarily wrong. I don't know how wrong that is on car loans. I don't think they'll take the higher score. I could be wrong on car loans. I think that depends on the lender. But generally, they want to take what's the highest risk in this file? What's the most likelihood? So if you got somebody at 900 credit score, but somebody at 500, the 900 is not kind of pulling up the 500. It's like, okay, this person is obligated on the loan. They're having to make a payment. They're equally responsible for the payment. How likely are they going to repay that? So it is really very important to have the credit scores there. You can have somebody that has the credit scores, the income, the assets, like the parents, and the kids have nothing, no income, no assets, but they still need to have that minimum credit score. And when you co-sign, you're equally responsible for that debt. It's not like you have to pay half of it. So the payment's $2,000. I'm only on as a co-signer. I only owe $1,000 of it. No, you're both equally responsible for the loan. So if the payment gets missed, you both get dinged on the credit report. So as parents, you want to make sure that you're involved with making sure the payment's made on time because it can affect your credit. It is something where you want to make sure that that's discussed. You want to make sure that maybe you get the alerts if they don't make their payment. But it's not necessarily a bad thing with cosign, but I've seen them go really south with family and friends. I mean, whenever you have kind of business and personal kind of merge, there's always going to be that potential that things go wrong. So it's just good to have the conversation up front that you're both equally responsible for that loan. So if somebody doesn't make the payment, it affects everybody's credit report. So if you have any questions about co-signing, I'd love to help you with that. The one nice thing with co-signing as well is if the parents have their own home, instead of buying it as an investment property and renting it back to your kids, the kids can be on the loan. You get better rates, better terms, less money down. So it is a better way to help the kids get a home is co-signing, but you just want an exit strategy. You want to have that conversation where, hey, if you don't make the payment, it affects us. So you want to maybe even have a few months in savings in the bank in case you have to go through the process of, hey, son, you got to move out. We got to sell this property. It's not working out. That's when it gets really ugly, unfortunately, with cosigns. But I've had a lot of parents call me and say, hey, we're going to help our kid buy a house. We're going to rent it to them. You're having to put a lot more money down. The rates are a lot worse than if the child can at least be on the loan, at least with the minimum credit score. So if you're looking at that, helping out the kids, buying a house, whatever it might be, I'd love to help you walk through how that works, get you pre-approved, and get you a better loan. It's a way better loan if the parents can be on it and the son or daughter or family member can be on the loan, even if they don't bring income or assets. They just got to have that minimum credit score. Everything else would be the same as if the parents are just buying the rental property, but you just get better rates and terms. So I'd love to talk to you about that. Check out my website at ryanbolton.com. We got about 2 minutes left.
I think we got a good one here. I think we have a good one to end on.
Okay, we got one more to finish here. Let's see what you got.
How did you go from 10 to 45? What did you do that you're like, you got to do that if you want to be successful?
Yeah, I think for me, there's 2 parts to that. I think one are creating opportunities, right? And that is by making calls. I did a lot of open houses. Was a huge strategy of mine that I just personally kind of fell into. Wasn't like told to me, but that was something that I viewed as a way to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, that was part of your.
So the title was "How to Make $1 Million as a Loan Officer."
Oh, work harder, fall into it.
Work harder, pay off your mortgage sooner. Oh yeah,
pay extra and fall into it. Get lucky. I see a lot of those. It doesn't seem like so many of those as well. How did you get successful? Well, I just kind of fell into it, got lucky. But I think there's a saying in golf that it kind of applies to this that I use all the time is the more I practice, the luckier I get, right? The more I practice, the luckier I get. So the more you're doing it, the more you're out there grinding, the more you're hearing no to get to your next yes, the more yeses you're going to get. And I think like any business, the more effort you put into it, the better. And there's going to be slow times. When you're first starting in the business, you got to go out there and create those relationships. You got to go out there and just kind of cut your teeth and do it. There's not really any silver bullet to just working hard. And getting through the 90 days, the first 6 months can be pretty tough. But I'd say this is one of the more rewarding industries because you're dealing with people's biggest financial decisions. There's a lot of emotion that can be tied to it. I just think there can be a lot of problem solving with it that's really made it a lot of fun. And that's why I've stayed in the business, is it's just fun. But there's times where it just sucks. So any sales industry is going to be that way. There's going to be highs and lows. There's going to be great interest rates and not so great. There's going to be no inventory, plenty of inventory. Just there's always going to be something out there. So to be successful in the mortgage industry or real estate agent is just a matter of putting in the work. That's really what's going to be. Putting in the work. It will pay off in the long run. You got to get through that initial stage of, yeah, this is exciting, to, man, this sucks, or the deal falls out, or interest rates go up, or I'm making all these calls. But I tell you, there is a lot that can be made, but there is a lot to say about working harder. So the more you practice, the better you get. So you just got to get out there and practice. So I thought this was fun. What do you think, Freddie Mac? This was kind of a fun little show here.
Let's do it again.
We'll do it again for sure. It's a lot of fun. If you have any comments, topics, please like and subscribe. Please share the video. Really enjoy doing this. It's just been a lot of fun kind of learning how this whole thing works with creating content and just having fun with what I do. So check out my website at ryanbolton.com. Check out my YouTube channel at Mortgage Nerd. And we'll see you next time on the Clear to Close podcast.
This has been the Clear to Close podcast. Please submit your comments, questions, and topics for future episodes to cleartoclosepod@gmail.com. That's clear, the number 2, closepod@gmail.com or ryanbolton.com. Please like, follow, and share. And until next time, this is the Clear to Close podcast. The views expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect those of Patriot Home Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 299717. This has been a production from a podcast studio.